This can result in serious injury. Never use the machine in a drain that has a chemical drain cleaner in it. Know how to shut off the machine in an emergency. Choosing the right cutters for your clogged drain problem is important. Your dealer will supply the appropriate tools for your needs. The Spearhead and 2-inch U cutters are good cutters to start with. They are ideal for cutting and scraping. The hook auger and retrieving tool are for removing loose objects that have been lost down the drain. The 3-inch heavy-duty saw blade and 4-inch rotary saw blade are used for cutting through tree roots and heavy stoppages. The 3-inch heavy-duty side cutter is a good finishing tool. It scrapes the walls of the pipe for a more thorough cleaning job. Start with the smaller cutters. Then change to the larger cutters after you've gotten the water flowing. The ends of the cable may have G connectors or L connectors. Each length of cable will have a male connector on one end and a female connector on the other end. To couple the G cables, turn the ring on the female connector until the notch in the ring lines up with the notch in the connector. Slide the tab on the male connector into the slot. Turn the ring a quarter turn until the button pops up. Cutters are attached the same way. To disconnect the G cables, push in the button with the coupling wrench. Then turn until the slot in the ring lines up with the connector. To couple the L cables, line up the solid pin in the male connector with the L-shaped notch in the female connector. Depress the spring pin and push the male connector into the female connector. Then turn the cable until the spring pin pops into place. Cutters are attached the same way. To disconnect the L cables, push down on the spring pin with the coupling wrench. Turn the male connector a quarter turn, then slide it out. Before you begin the job, check out where the line goes. If possible, use an opening beyond the trap. Size up the area in which you will be using the rod runner. If you have 12 to 15 feet of clear area around the drain opening to allow enough room for the machine to operate safely, the rod runner can be used in the walk behind configuration. Always turn the power switch off when coupling cables or cutters. Attach a cutter to the end of the cable. Push the cable into the drain opening as far as it will go. Depending on the location of the clog or bends in the line, you may be able to put several lengths of cable in. Slide the other end of the last cable inserted into the chuck about a foot. Pull the chuck handle down to lock the cable in place. Turn the knurled knob to adjust gripping power of the chuck. If you are going through a trap, you may have to use the cable feeding tool to get started. Remove the switch from the handle and place it on the floor so you can reach it easily beside the drain opening. Then, take the cable feeding tool and press it against the cable as it goes into the drain opening, pushing the cable against the edge of the pipe. Put the motor switch in the forward position. Step on the pedal and run the machine until the cable moves freely into the drain. Stop by releasing the pedal. Once the cable starts moving freely through the line, you no longer need the cable feeding tool. Return the switch to its position on the rod runner's handle. Wrap any excess length of hose onto the cord holder at the rear of the machine. Stand behind the machine and press the air switch to turn it on. The machine will start to move slowly toward the drain opening. Allow the cable to work its way through the drain by itself. Don't try to force the cable into the drain by pushing the machine. Make sure the machine isn't moving forward any faster than the cable is feeding itself into the drain. Avoid having any slack in the cable between the machine and the drain. If there's too much slack, the cable may whip. When there are only 2 feet of cable left between the drain opening and the machine, stop. You'll have to add another section of cable. First, remove the end of the cable from the machine by lifting the chuck handle. Then pull the machine away from the drain by 1 cable length. Take the end of the cable sticking out of the drain and attach it to the female end of another length of cable. Slide the other end of the cable into the clutch and lock the handle down. Roll the machine back so there's no slack in the cable between the machine and the drain opening. Stand behind the machine, press the air switch, and slowly walk the machine toward the drain as before. Don't force the cable into the drain. You could kink or damage the cable and it won't clear the line any faster. If the cable begins to buckle or twist, stop by taking your hand off the air switch. When you meet resistance in the drain, switch the motor from forward to reverse and run for several seconds. Then forward again. Allow the cable to stop spinning before going in the other direction. The cable will move out of the drain by itself. Just back the machine up enough to take up any slack in the cable as it emerges from the drain. Keep moving the cable in and out of the drain until the resistance lessens and the cable moves freely again. Go slow. Again, don't force the cable. After the drain is clear, retract the cable from the drain line by putting the motor in reverse, depressing the pedal, and backing the machine away from the drain opening. Allow the cable to move out of the drain at its own rate. Just back the machine up enough to take up the slack in the cable. Disconnect each section as the connectors emerge from the drain. Remember to turn off the power switch when handling the cables. When you get close to the end of the last cable, turn off the switch and pull the cable out of the drain by hand. If you will have to operate the machine in a confined space, the rod runner can also be used in the close-up configuration. Wheel the machine to within 2 feet of the drain opening and lock the brake. Slide the rear guide hose onto the guide pins in back of the machine and tighten the thumb screw. Attach a cutter to the end of the cable. Push the cable into the drain opening as far as it will go. You may be able to add additional lengths of cable until you meet resistance. Slide the back end of the last cable inserted into the drain as far into the machine as it will go. Remove the air switch from the handle and place it on the floor beside the drain opening. Pull just enough cable from the machine to make a small arc. Push the chuck handle down to lock the cable in place. The knurled knob may have to be adjusted for the correct gripping power on the cable. Switch the motor switch to the forward position. Then, with gloved hands, put one hand on the cable and the other on the clutch handle. Step on the foot pedal. The cable will corkscrew its way into the line. Do not push the cable into the drain. If the cable has trouble getting started, use the cable feeding tool as shown before. Once the slack is gone, stop. Lift the chuck handle and pull more cable out of the machine until you have an arc. Push the chuck handle down and run the cable into the line again. When you are within a few feet of the end of the cable, stop. Pull the end of the cable out of the machine and slide a new one in, male end first. Couple the two cables together and continue to run the cable into the line as before. Do not force the cable into the drain. You won't clear the line any faster, and you could damage the cable or seriously injure yourself. The cable must run freely. If it jams, the cable will build up torque, start to buckle, and then, in the blink of an eye, twist itself into a series of loops. If your hands are caught in a loop, you risk severe injury. Again, do not force the cable. If the cable begins to buckle or twist, stop by taking your foot off the pedal. When you meet resistance in the line, run the cable back and forth by switching the motor from forward to reverse and back again. Again, allow the cable to stop spinning before flipping the switch in the other direction. Keep moving the cable in and out of the drain until the resistance lessens and the cable moves freely again. Go slow. Never force the cable. After the drain is clear, retract the cable from the drain